Welcome to Nomad PHP Lightning Talks. I'm Joe Ferguson. Nomad PHP Lightning Talks are a 10-minute talk that give a high-level overview or an in-depth look at a small portion of a PHP-related topic. Lightning Talks are a great way for new speakers to build their speaking resume and for long-time speakers to test drive new talk ideas. If you'd like to give a 10-minute lightning talk, please email joe@nomadphp.com. Right now we have Matthew Setter, and he is going to be talking about what makes Phpstorm great for development. It just so happened to work out that Matthew was doing a lightning talk tonight, and tomorrow his interview with Cal on the Voices of the Elephant podcast will be released, so make sure you check that out tomorrow. Please make sure you visit Joined In after the talk and leave Matt some feedback. Matthew, take it away.
Thank you for the intro. As Joe said, in this talk, roughly sort of 10 minutes, I'm going to give a thorough intro as to why Phpstorm is great for PHP development. Honestly, I think that Phpstorm is an amazing application and one that I've become hooked on ever since I started using it about 2 years ago. But a little bit first, a little bit about me. Why am I here? Why am I giving this talk? My name's Matthew Setter. I am an Australian software developer, technical writer, based out of Nuremberg in Germany. I've been developing for the last 15 years. I think I started about 1999-ish. In that time, I've been working primarily in PHP. And I've been using Phpstorm almost exclusively for about the last 12 to 18 months. You can find me on either SetterMJD on Twitter or at matthewsetter.com, but likely the best one is SetterMJD. And one more thing, I do a funky podcast called Free the Gig. You might recognize some of these people on the right-hand side. You can find it at Free the Geek FM, and it's loads of friendly fireside chats about tech, PHP in particular, the business of freelancing as a software developer, and technical writing. So, why is Phpstorm great for PHP development? Okay, the first point of why I believe Phpstorm is fantastic for PHP development is code completion. As you can see in this screenshot, I'm in the middle of doing an auto-completion on a third use statement. You can see that there's a drop-down showing the possible matches at that point in the namespace. As you can see, Phpstorm does an excellent job of providing a list of matches, clearly distinguishing between the directories, interfaces, and classes available. What's more, based on the project index that it contains, it does it really, really quickly, though it still doesn't fully give you that idea. Personally, whilst I think from an aesthetic point of view, it's not quite as nice as it could be, that's just a personal thing. However, the information which you can see here is really exceptional because it gives you all the possible matches very quickly, such as the directories at the top, interfaces, classes, and so on. But it does it in such a way that it doesn't overwhelm you with sort of every possible choice. It keeps everything nice and compact. Anyway, looking at the three use statements, you can see that it's really well integrated with PHP. As the first one's grayed out, that's either an indication that abstract factory interface isn't actually used anywhere in the class, or it's been referenced by its absolute part somewhere, so you could remove that statement if you wanted to. The second one, as it's in white, indicates that that use statement or the service locator interface is used in the class, and the third one, as it's partly in red, indicates that there's a problem with the use statement. I mean, clearly in this case, it's because we haven't completed it yet. Now, based on that, I could sort of go through and I could remove the abstract factory interface. I could look to see, what the problem is if I'd finished the use statement there in the third. But on the whole, it's a really clear indicator of, are the problems, is everything okay? Sort of a quick visual cue. Okay, the second reason why I think Phpstorm is fantastic is what it calls inspections. Phpstorm features robust, fast, and flexible static code analysis, which it refers to as inspections. The inspections perform a number of things on your code, such as detecting compiler and runtime errors, suggesting corrections and improvements, and this is all before you even start. I think they're really, really handy, and you can see in the list here on the screen that it has a number of PHP, such as code smell, code style, control flow, PHP doc, and unused code, which we saw a bit of in the previous slide. But in addition to that, it has a whole range of other ones for outside of PHP, such as Cucumber, HTML, JSON, less, and thing. Well, the next reason why I think it's really fantastic is what it calls intentions. And intentions are small snippets of functionality, such as auto-adding getters and setters, converting traditional arrays to short array syntax, and the short array syntax back to the traditional array, importing a class with the use operator, and so on. These collectively make the process of coding, I think, a lot simpler and a lot more efficient. A good working example is to say that you have a simple object which has several properties on it. Now you want to create a series of setter and getter methods. You could create them by hand, but that could be quite time-consuming and error-prone. Alternatively, you could let Phpstorm do it for you, and then later refactor them as needed. There's a host of intentions available, which you can also see here in the slide, such as adding properties, adding PHP doc comments, converting namespaces to brace, declaring fields, and so on. As with inspections, the real thing, or the real reason why I love intentions is because it just saves you a hell of a lot of time, and they're just really, really productive. Here's another one, and I think these are really, really cool, and these are plugins. What do you say about plugins? Phpstorm, as you can see here in the list, comes with a raft of them already installed and enabled. These include plugins for Bash support, CoffeeScript support, CVS, CSS, Git, and so on. Plugins make it really, really simple to extend the IDE in little or not so little ways, adding snippets or chunks of functionality which the IDE may not provide out of the box, but which you may need in your daily life. A good example is the Vim plugin, and this is one I always have going. Okay, I'm a bit of a Vim nut. I would use it for everything, but to be quite honest, I just find Phpstorm helps me be more efficient than Vim does. But over a number of years, I learned so many Vim key bindings, and I didn't want to have to maintain 2 sets in my head or even sort of start learning another set. So for that reason, I found on the JetBrains site the Vim plugin, installed it, enabled it, and now I can almost kind of work in Vim or use Phpstorm as though I'm using Vim. Now here's a big one, and it's one that I started to gain a lot more respect for as I've been going through the refactoring book by Martin Fowler of late, as well as some of Uncle Bob Martin's pretty awesome videos. In this example here, I'm sort of pseudo considering renaming the can create service with name function to something else. To say, for example, it was can create service without name. I mean, the new names is kind of quite arbitrary in this case. What you can see is that I've asked Phpstorm to, say I want to refactor and change the name, and for it to then go and find every reference to the function, whether the function definition or calls to the function anywhere throughout the project. In the list here, it's then gone and found everything, and you can then say, okay, yep, I accept that every reference there is one that I want to change. Click Do Refactor, and it will change everything for me. Or perhaps I've created a function and it's using a name that's the same as one in a package that I've brought in via Composer. I could then exclude that section of the tree and refactor everything else. I guess as you can infer, by having it automatically find it for me, it greatly reduces the likelihood of introducing a bug somewhere through the code by sort of missing one reference or missing several references. Really handy for those times when you're working late at night or you're under stress. Here's another reason why I think Phpstorm is awesome, and that's visual debugging. Because I think honestly, visual debugging can be cool. It's a lot cooler than putting var dumps throughout your code and then perhaps forgetting them. And why it's particularly good in Phpstorm is that, firstly, JetBrains and Phpstorm have made the remote debugging setup really, really easy. I mean, almost painless, and it's definitely close to painless and perfect. Once you've got it set up, all you need to do is set a breakpoint, set Phpstorm to listen for remote connections, usually put something in your query string in the browser, or use a plugin for browsers like Chrome, and you're ready to go. Then all you need to do is run your script or run your application and start stepping through. To give a quick overview, in the bottom pane here, we see we see the frames in the current stack, showing all the files that have been executed up to this point in time. Then there's current variables in scope. Within reason, you could expand any or all of these to find out all there is to know about it, looking inside arrays, inside variables, and so on. And finally, on the right, we have a list of watches which is currently empty. We could, for example, add a watch and then watch it change as we say iterated through a loop several times, and that way would give us an indication of our variable changing. It just does a really nice job of making that process a lot easier for us. And then finally, whilst there are so many things I could talk about, but the last thing I want to cover is database integration, and it's it's a bit of a favorite of mine because I just really like working with relational databases. And the key thing why this is really cool is that you don't need an external application. This isn't to say that external applications are bad or lesser quality. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying it's a way of just sort of staying within the one application and not having to change to another app, sort of break your mental context and come back again. You also don't have to install extra applications such as Navicat Lite. You don't have to sort of remember licenses and all that sort of stuff. One purchase price covers everything. Now, as you can see here, and by the way, this comes with Phpstorm by default. On the right-hand side, I've got 3 databases set up, and you can see that it shows me the schema, or the top-level schema of each of those, or the first and the third. I can look at it on the table level. I could, look at things on the column level, as you see in the SQLite schema at the bottom. I can write a query on the top left pane, and it can show me the results in the bottom left pane. What you don't see from this still is that as we're linked into the database, as I start writing the query, it'll give me prompts as to table, and then once I've got the table, the column on the table, keywords, and so forth. So whilst I appreciate that, when you're running, when you're creating this in a normal application, more than likely you'd use a library such as ZenDB or Doctrine or something like that. It really makes it easy to help, write, say, a query in the first place if you're just sketching out an idea, if you're just testing a concept. And honestly, I believe that brings me to time. So there are several reasons why I believe Phpstorm is just honestly awesome for PHP development. There are loads of other reasons that I could have covered, but I don't want to take too much of your time. So I definitely encourage you to check it out. It is an excellent tool. It's really quick. It's really efficient and responsive. One that I honestly swear by and use every day. Thank you very, very much for having me.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us for another Nomad PHP Lightning Talk. If you'd like to give a lightning talk, please email joe@nomadphp.com. Please make sure you visit Joined In and leave Matthew some feedback.